Yeah. What's up, YouTube? I'm Joel Wanasek. I'm a pro mixer and co-founder of NailTheMix.com, the coolest place in the internet to learn how to mix rock and metal music for those of you interested in doing so. Today, I'm going to react to and break down the mix of a great song, my favorite song actually by 3 Days Grace, which is Animal I Have Become. So let's break this mix down. Let's talk about it. I'm going to react to it. Here we go. Solid kick sample right off the gate. Great bass tone. Not a lot of sub in it. Pay attention to how the kick and the bass lock together. Let me go back. A lot of the low sub is in the kick, and then the bass is highly rolled off. I want to say maybe like 60 to 70 hertz. That high pass is definitely up there. So the kick is a little bit below the bass in this mix. Okay, I love the mid-range on those guitars. It's definitely an interesting place to put them. A lot of mixes have bright guitars, but this mix has the guitars kind of in like that 700 hertz to like 1K range. It's very, very, I don't want to say boxy, but kind of in like boxy range. And I think it works. It's kind of cool because listen to how the bass and the guitar work together and the kick. It's a very, very interesting combination. It's like there's a hole there in the bass. The guitar fills it in perfectly, and the bass kind of just wraps around the bottom of the top of the guitars, and it just makes one continuous sound. And then I love those bright accent guitars because this kind of comes in, it's groovy, right? It gets your attention. And then the band goes into the riff and they jam. But on the mix side, those accent guitars, they're super bright and they jump out of the speaker and they provide a big contrast that gets and holds your attention. I can't escape this hell. Okay, I like the lo-fi vocal thing. That's cool. That's different. Normally you don't hear a lot of lo-fi vocals in major songs that have went #1, you know, especially in the verse. You might hear like an echo or a throw or something like that, but the decision to make the vocals like super lo-fi is cool. And it's going to create a great contrast for later in the song when the chorus comes in and the vocals open up and go like full, you know, full bandwidth. Because the guitars are very mid-rangey, if you were to go super mid-rangey on the drums, you're definitely going to get lost. So the way that the snare has been mixed, it's kind of bright on the top and it's kind of fat on the bottom. And it kind of wraps around that guitar mid-range, which is kind of like, if you picture a frequency spectrum, it's like a big ball just sitting there in the middle, and it kind of puts it around. And it's really nice because the bass does that too. It's just very strategically placed. I don't know who mixed this song because there's 3 mixers credited on this record, and it's kind of sad the way the music industry doesn't do such a very good job of crediting people that work on this stuff. So this could have been mixed by Randy Stapp. It could have been mixed by Rich Cossey. It could have been mixed by Jay Baumgartner. I'm not sure. All 3 of them are credited as mixing this album, and all 3 of them are fantastic mixers. So whoever did this, high five to you. Very, very good, intelligent decision making in terms of like where you put certain elements in the mix. And I like the kick in this because the kick is not overly bright. It doesn't really poke through the top end so much. It kind of just melds in with the bass and the punch of the bass and the guitar. Listen to the top end of the kick. Somebody get me through this nightmare. It's cool. The kick is pushing the bottom. The bass is above the kick. Then there's the bottom of the snare, the mid-range of the guitars, the top end of the bass, the top end of the snare. It's a really nice way that this is lined up frequency-wise. Okay, there's something cool that happens here on the vocals. So listen to the vocals. The main vocal is lo-fi, but the dubs that are like the doubles and the supporting vocals that are in there subtly mixed are actually hi-fi. And it's a cool contrast because it picks up your ear a little bit and makes it brighter with treble. You can hear the top end. Really cool mixing, very subtle, but if you listen on really good speakers and you listen for it, you're gonna hear it. Okay, listen to how the vocals go from lo-fi to hi-fi, you know, stereo spread. It gets massive. Can't control myself. Hold on, what a great fill. That's like my favorite drum fill ever. Just bach-em, bach-em. It's so good. Okay, so back to the frequency spectrum. We've been talking about the way things are stacked in this mix. The top end of this mix, the vocals are very bright, you know, a lot of like the 4 to 5K and up into the voice. And it sits very nicely because the guitars are down in that like we'll call it the upper mid-range, right? Well, mid-range. It's 700 to like 1.5K, somewhere in there. You know, the guitars are very much in that range. We have the bass, the top of the kick, the top of the snare, and the vocals are kind of just like up there, floating above everything else. And it sounds great. Very, very bright, nice, and it really makes them pop. Plus, they're in stereo here. They're triple. It sounds like there's some kind of like tight delay or reverb effect on them. Cymbals have a nice top end to them. They're very smooth. Okay, I got a couple of thoughts here on the drums. So let's go back and listen to that. It's interesting, the drum mixing on this, because like if you listen on the first verse, the crashes are loud, but the hi-hat's not super loud. All right, we go to the second verse. It's bright, but it's not super loud. So it kind of grabs your attention for the groove, but it's not really that loud. The crash cymbals are kind of warm sounding, but the hi-hat is definitely cranked up a little bit on the top end to grab your attention and kind of add that extra weight and groove. Smart mix decision. It definitely gives that section a little bit of energy that's really neat. Another thing that's kind of interesting mix-wise that's going on here is listen to the floor toms. They're really quiet. Here's why I think the mixer did this. I think because it's kind of like a call and answer kind of thing. It's like the vocals come in, and if the toms were big and booming, they would get in the way of the vocals. They would be distracted, right? It would just hit too hard and be too exciting. So they're mixed down to just kind of give a different vibe, a groove. They get out of the way, and then he cranks up the hi-hat because then the riff comes in, and it's like a call and an answer, and it changes the energy of the section of the song and makes it feel different and adjusts your attention and kind of makes the riff come out a little more. So it's like vocal, riff, vocal, riff. So listen to that interaction. I can't escape myself. They got those cool little lo-fi vocal throws. These vocals are a lot more hi-fi on this second verse. You can hear the top end. We just take a second to stop talking about this mix and just mention how good is the hook to this song. What a melody. It's so good. Compression-wise, this mix is really locked. So it sounds to me like, because there's not a ton of bottom end transient and like sub impact on the hits, it sounds to me like they have a tighter tack time on the master bus compressor. I want to say probably like 10 ms, maybe 3. I don't know. It's hard to exactly say because I wasn't there in the session, but if it was like 30 milliseconds, it'd be a lot looser. There's definitely an auto release on the bus compressor setting. So it's a very tight controlled sound to it. It's not very pumpy. The mix is just like very solid, very locked in. It doesn't change, it just holds that dynamic and energy. So that's what it sounds like to me. And a result of that kind of bus compression, it doesn't have that like bombastic energy in the kick and snare that you would get for, you know, for something that used like a slower attack, faster release. But definitely a song like this, it's a mid-range rock song. Like it doesn't need to be the heaviest, hardest hitting thing that's ever been on the radio. It's kind of just got to be up the middle. It's got to translate well and sound good and have just enough energy without being like super, super aggressive. So yeah, I think it's a great choice. I love the top of the bass and the guitars. Just listen to how that locks. It's very well EQ'd. This song definitely to me sounds like it was mixed on an SSL. I could be wrong, but if I had to guess out of the 3 mixers I mentioned earlier, this sounds a little bit more Randy Staub to me than I think the other guys. I could be wrong. It sounds like it's mixed on a 4000. It sounds like Randy's bus settings, at least from some of the other mixes that he's done that I've been able to pull out of it. That's my guess. I could be wrong. I don't know. That's a great vocal effect there. It's like a phaser, flanger, lo-fi whisper. I like the contrasting guitar there. It's a totally different EQ curve than the rest of the guitars. It's very bright and buzzsaw kind of sounding. And then we're going to go back to the full mid-range. What a great mix. I love it. Everything laid out very strategic. Each part of the song just directs the listener's attention very, very strategically. I mean, just fantastically mixed. Song was obviously a mega hit, and definitely my favorite for 3 Days Grace song. Now, that being said, they have had like, what, 15, 16 number ones at this point. So this band obviously knows what they're doing. The producers and the production team that they work with are the best of the best, and they just keep hitting home runs. So bravo, guys. Just absolutely phenomenal. Great mix, great song. Let me know what you think of this mix in the comments below. Please click like and subscribe. Also, if you've enjoyed this video and if you got a song you want me to break down, let me know in the comments. I'll try to get it queued up. I'll take a listen to it and try to do a mix breakdown video if I can on it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.